this is just an update. Okay, so we still are needing to lab spandry. Uh, this week has been a very last week continued into this week has been something that has been very stressful, or I shouldn't say stressful. Kicking my ass is what I should say. Um, my mom had a um, well, okay. So here's the thing. So um, um, I would always think a certain way. Okay, and of course, I've always said that scientists. I'm a scientist at heart. Okay, all right, and you learn theory, and then you get this idea of how things work. Okay, based on things that you've done in the past, in your career, or so on and so on. Okay, and then something happens in your life, like 50 years later, and you're like, oh, now I really strongly get it. Okay, all right, and this comes down to an electrical problem. All right, so, all right, I'm sitting here. Okay, and remember, I was in a hotel for a bit. Okay, because the electricity went out. All right, for days, and kind of the same thing happened, um, but different. So originally, when our electricity went out, when I had to go to a motel, um, uh, my recessed lights in the ceiling started dimming, and then flickering, and then eventually going out, coming back on, going out, coming back on. Okay, and then eventually just the power just shut off. Okay, obviously this is someone hitting a power, a transformer or a telephone pole or whatever. Okay, and in my situation, all right, the power lines are above ground. Okay, until it comes from the pole to the house. Okay, they are underground. All right, so like my grandmother's house when I was staying there, my teenage years and younger years, her electricity always went out. Okay, and I think I explained this before, where the trees was hitting the actual lines, and they only trim the trees out just to stop it from hitting the lines, but don't trim any other trees. Okay, and no one actually called to actually trim all the trees back. So even rain, just simple rainstorm. Okay, her power will go out a lot, and it could go out for hours or so on and so on. All I remember is when my teenage years, I was always calling the power company. Okay, we're here in my mom's house. It rarely goes out because the power lines are underground from the pole to the house. Okay, so wind doesn't affect the power lines from that aspect. But in the last several years, this power's been going out a lot. Okay, all right. Don't know why. Don't Who knows? All right. So the second time this happened, um, the lights started flickering again, and I was expecting the lights just to go out just like last time. It literally was copying or mimicking the previous behavior. Okay, but these lights would not go out. Okay, and it was like next thing you know, I would lose power. Okay, all right, and then it would come back on. All right, and the interesting thing is when my switches come on. Okay, not now I got new switches. We'll talk about that in a second. But the old switches, when they would come on, it would be loud. Okay, I mean the fans actually create a nice little hum that you knew it was on. Okay, the new switches I have now, okay, they the fans are loud when they turn on, but after it finishes booting, okay, I mean, dude, they're quiet. Okay, I got one sitting right next to me, and I can hear it, but dude, it's really really quiet. And it's funny because when I first got the switches, which I got like last week or so, at some point, um, when I got them, I had actually started looking for the um, compressed air because I just knew the fan blades were dirty, and as I was looking for the compressed air that I couldn't find, and then eventually they just did silence. I was like, oh, okay, all right. And I had a pair of switches like that before, which is like the 3850s. Okay, but still, when the 3850s quiet down, they were so loud. So you knew they were on. Now, here's the thing. Okay. I'm just like, what the hell? Because the switch would come on, right? And then my other receptacles in the room wouldn't work. Okay? Because and you guys know I'm an ex-electrician. And I have very, very, very little respect from the concept of running wires by an electrician that makes any sense whatsoever. Okay? Because on one circuit, you have one receptacle on one circuit from this room and all the other ones in the kitchen. It's just like, dude, who the hell wired this damn house? Okay? But that's just, it is what it is. I'm not bad at electricians. It's just, it is what it is. Okay, so I go, and next thing you know, when my switch would turn off, okay, my receptacle on the right hand wall would work, and I was just like, "What the hell is going on?" It's something I've never experienced before. Okay, all right, and I've done commercial and residential, never experienced anything before. Okay, but this is where people that are smarter than you, that's why you call them, right? So I go to the electrical panel, take off the actual panel, okay, and test, and I got 250 volts on one line, okay, none on the other leg, okay, or phase. All right, come back, now it's 250 on the other leg, and it's dropped from the other side. Okay, so give me a second. So, believing the meter, okay, I'm just like, okay, this is going to cause problems. Okay, I'm assuming that I have 250 volts coming on one leg and 0 on the other. Okay, next thing you know, in my room, scared the shit out of me, my power surge protector, and I'm doing air quotes here that you can't see, that sucker loudly popped, and I was like, whoa, and I thought it was one of the light bulbs, thinking that it was, I was happy that it didn't shatter and rain down glass on me, but that's not what it was. All right, and that thing started smoking. Okay, so at that point, obviously, if that destroyed, now other things in the house, which is everything, by the way, with circuit boards, have a potential of, having to be replaced. Okay, now, okay, and it's funny because it's been a long time since I've done electricity. All right, and I did not comprehend. I knew the theory, but I didn't apply the theory because I was just believing the meter and what I read. And of course, if there's not a load on the neutral, okay, how are you going to get an accurate reading from the meter? Okay, all right. So what had happened, which is the first time in my life that I've ever experienced, okay, all right, and was the neutral ground. Now you gotta understand, okay? These cables coming from the power company from the poles on the ground, okay, are 2/0, I think, in size, 2 gauge. And now you have 3 wires coming in, 120 volts on one phase, 120 volts on the second phase, or the A and B phase, and the neutral. And I would argue this part all the time, and I was wrong, because here's the reality. With electricity, okay, it always likes the neutral, it likes to go back to the source. Okay, so I was always believing that the ground rod that you put in the earth was there to pull the actual electricity back, because your ground rod and your neutral are the same thing, right? But that's not the case, okay? They literally do carry your load down the neutral on 2 gauge wire back to the power supply. I'm sorry, power plant. Sorry, okay, because obviously that's the source of where we're getting our power. Now, having a neutral drop is something I've never experienced. Okay, somehow underground, okay, that neutral was no longer physically connected. So they had to find out where it was broken, dig the actual hole to get to the wire and repair it. Okay, and they did do that. And the power company didn't charge a dime. Okay, they did it. Okay, because obviously up to the panel, that's their responsibility. All right. However, it's an experience that you have to be there. Okay. All right. It's just wild. Okay. So now I'm getting false readings. Okay. I got electricity coming in. Okay. It's not being carried out. Okay. I got weird readings all across the board. Okay. All right. And because the electricity is coming in and it's not going out. Okay. And also you gotta understand. Okay. The flickering. All right. That's literally me. Taking the neutral wire and just touching it, letting it go, touching it, letting it go, touching it, letting it go. Okay, and of course you can't see the actions that I'm doing with my hands, but just touching it, right? Just tapping the wires together. Okay, tap, 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 tap. Okay, all right, and that itself is going to cause power spikes, issues, and things like that. So now. All this story leads up to one thing. Okay, our TVs were good, I find. However, our oven and our air fryer was not. The oven, the control board just had to be replaced. No big deal. It was a gas oven. But I had to buy a new air fryer. Okay, because how else am I going to cook my steaks? Yes, I know. Stove or grill is just fine, but I love my air fryer. All right, and the best thing I love with my air fryer is fresh cut potatoes, and eat fries with them. I'll sit there, man. I will cut 10 or 12 potatoes if I could. All right, because it's not that hard. It is very easy, And it's no slicer. It's just me and a knife. Put them in there for 20 minutes, and pile of ketchup, and I'm happy. All right. And that's my favorite thing to cook in the air fryer. Now, okay, all my mom's heaters. She has these weird heaters, and they do work. They're really nice. They're probably 2 feet tall, maybe 2 feet wide, and of course it gives you this image of fake fire, when you're running it. But still, that's how my mom heats the house. I don't know why she does it. That's just my mom just does what my mom does, and there's no point of trying to justify the logic. But she has these all throughout the house, okay? And they all died, every one of them except one. I think except one, which is a different model. That one didn't die. Every one of them, okay? All right. So now I have to go in there and open them up and see what's going on. I can't do that because I don't have the right Allen wrench. I mean, they're tiny. All right. So all this stuff, right? Okay. GFIs. Okay. Now, GFI receptacles, they have circuitries in there in order for the GFI to work. All right. So those died. Okay. And she had a dimmer switch. Okay. That had a remote control. All right. So obviously there's circuitry in there. So now she can't turn the lights on. Now, all that leads up to the fact that I replaced the GFIs, so I had to go upstairs, okay, which is a high, steep stairway to get up to her second floor. Okay, so I'll go up there, and I can't stay up there long because the walk of the stairway is so traumatizing. Okay. All right, the last thing you want to try to do with heart failure is walking upstairs. All right, so I won't go up there twice in a day. So I'll go up there once, and I'm already exhausted. before I even start working. So I can't even stay up there long. All right, so it took me a couple of days to replace the GFI, and doing with the dimmer switch. I think it was like 3 days because I opened it up. The wiring is horrible. I had to rewire the box. Okay, so now 5 days in a row of walking up those stairs just once. Yo. I mean, all I can tell you is every day I was going up those stairs just one time, and I'm telling you, I never did it twice in a single day, was causing me to go back to the way I was when I had to be hospitalized. I could feel the fluids, in the lung. I could feel my lung capacity, like cut in half. Okay, all right. So it was a learning lesson that, and it took me over a week to recover. I mean, to be honest, yesterday is like one of the days that I'm actually starting to feel a little better. Okay, now during that time frame, I had ordered switches from Amazon. Okay. All right, and they are 2960S/S, okay, and this is the first time since 2009 or ever that I've actually had gigabit switches in my network, okay, all right, and it's fantastic, okay, but you gotta understand how I am. Why get gigabit switches when I'm only having 100 megabits per second on my internet speed? I don't need to transfer data from one host to another inside my network that fast. It's not that crucial. Okay, all right. It's one of those things where I don't do until I except when I need. So at this house we have a 1 gig link from Fios. Okay, we're even talking about going to 2.5 links, 2.5, and I don't know why. Okay, but at that point, okay, all right, I was able to utilize that speed, and since I needed to get new switches for spanning tree, okay, I decided to upgrade the 2 switches in my home network to 1 gigabit switches. Okay, all right, so now I got to enjoy this week downloading things from Steam. Okay, my games from Steam at 600 and some megabits per second, and that was fantastic. Okay, but without the gigabit link, it would be pointless. I would never have seen those speeds ever. Okay, the highest I've ever had before was 400 megabits per second, and I had to downgrade that. Okay, because trying to figure out and troubleshoot why I'm only getting 90 megabits per second. Okay. It just hit me. It was like, you dumbass. Your switches are 100 megabits per second. Okay? So I downgraded the internet speed. And this is when I was in Richmond, Virginia. Okay? Now, so all that has been going on. Okay? All right? I do have my switches. Okay? All right? So I got 2 new switches, gigabit switches. All right? One of them is sitting on top of 3 other switches that I was using for the teaching here. And now I got 4 switches sitting here, and we're going to use that for spanning tree. Now, today is the first day that I actually decided to do the video, okay? And then I decided to just do an update video, okay? And because what I'm going to try to do tomorrow, I'm going to try to get a drawing pad and a camera, okay? To let you guys see what I want you to see, okay? All right, and also I like to be able get the drawing pad and the camera that I want, which is like $350, but it's a cool ass camera, okay? And it has like it's a Logic camera where I can move it around in all different directions, and that's what I want. Okay. However, I need to get a juicer so I can start juicing like I used to, and see what happens. See if I can hit a 30-day mark and heal some of the issues that I'm having. And go from there. Okay, because I have lost 100 pounds, gotten back down to 235 twice. Okay, and when I got hospitalized, I gained 60 pounds in a month, and nobody's taking it seriously. I mean, who the hell gains? I mean, at one point, guys, I had gained 30 some pounds in less than a week, in that 1 week. Okay, so trust me, it was less than a month. All right, and it was obvious, and the doctors aren't taking it seriously. So, I don't care what they say. I need to lose 100 pounds again, probably. All right, the third time in less than a 5-year period. It's ridiculous. Okay, and I'm gonna have to start utilizing juicing as a means of maintaining that weight loss. Because the thing about juicing is you can juice for 30 days, lose about the average of a pound a day. Okay, and you gotta understand, me losing weight and gaining muscle is not something that is a chore for me. Okay, it's I've had enough experience with it in order to do it. So I'm not worrying about that. What I'm worrying about is, yeah, a pound a day when you're juicing. Okay, you're gonna lose about 30 to 40 some pounds in a month, but it comes back just like that if you just stop juicing and go back to eating the way you were. And I mean just like that. Okay? Alright? And a lot of people get all hyped up and excited about the weight loss, but they don't realize, okay, this is something that needs to be maintained. You can't just go off it and go back to doing what you're doing and say, okay, I did my juice fast, I'm great. Okay, and it doesn't work that way. That weight will come back 10 times fast. Okay? All right, and it kind of makes me like shake my head when I see these people so excited that they lost 30 pounds from juicing, and then they go right back. They just cut off the juicing. It's like a light switch. It's like it's like, look, this is what got me to this weight, so I must just stop it. All right, and that's just not the way it is. Okay, and losing 100 pounds is not easy. Okay. And it takes about a year to do, okay? But, like I said, when I was hospitalized and, and with the heart, the heart failure, it's just, that weight, dude, it's like my weight doubled within a couple weeks, man. It was insane. It didn't double. I mean, that's just crazy, right? Because I'd be like 400 some pounds. But when I'm 235 pounds or 240, my blood pressure is perfect, and most of the problems I have at this weight that I am now, I don't have. Okay, that's why I have to go to chiropractor, because I'm all stiffed up, and I have to start doing therapy again to actually release the actual tension in my joints. Okay, all right, but there's two sides of this equation. One, I'm fine with it because I know exactly what needs to be done to get it back to where I want it. Okay? It could be worse. I could not know what to do. Alright? So, that is my plan. So I can get a juicer. Okay? And that's going to cost me probably like $600. And it's funny because, oh my God, I probably had 4 or 5 juicers back in the day when I was juicing. Okay? And they're like $300 to $350, $3 to $350 a piece. Okay, now they're like $600 some, and I'm just like, wow. Well, the one I want is okay. And come to find out, the Vitamix, man, it's gone up to $1,500 for some of the models. I'm like, wow. Okay, which I don't need a blender at this point because right now I want to start juicing. So that might delay a couple weeks on the video for Spanning Tree if I can't get the juicer and the camera and the drawing pad. Okay, I gotta have the drawing pad. At this point, it's necessary for me to do that with doing labs with Spanning Tree. Okay, All right. So that's an update. I was going to do it with this particular video, but I decided that I'm going to see if I can get my drawing pad and camera. At least with the drawing pad, I can communicate with you in a better form. Okay. And I can deal without the camera. Okay. But really, my priority is the actual juicer and the chiropractor. Get my stuff, start getting myself back in the working order. Okay. So otherwise, you hear my voice. I was able to talk the whole time. Where last week with those stairs, man, I wouldn't even be able to do half or even a quarter of this video at this time frame. Okay, so, all right, so so just give you an update of what's going on, and we're not done yet. So just settle in and be patient with me. I'm a coming, and guys, as always, be strong. Be determined. Be Cisco. Almost messed that up.